I'm Courtney.
And I'm Emily. And this is Cheers to That. Welcome back to another week of Cheers to That. This week we're joined by Katie, and she is going to talk to us about the book we just read, The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. And Katie and I met through Instagram because I shared one of her hilarious book memes. So Katie, tell us about how you started your Instagram page, and make sure you shout out your handle so everyone can be entertained.
All right. My handle is katie.reads.books. Books is with a Z because books was taken. And
I love that.
We have the same thing and underscores. Yeah, we get it.
Exactly. And my name is Caity because it's short for Caitlin. And so I started doing a bookstagram at the behest of other people, actually.
Yeah.
I think probably because they were just sick of me talking about books and told me to do it on the internet instead of to their faces. And I was just doing it for fun until nobody saw it at all. And I didn't really tell people about it until I did a video. I don't have a ton of followers, but I did a video in December about hating a popular bookstagram book. And that's when I it went not viral, but it has I think 800,000 views on it.
That's viral by my standards. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was people resonated with this, and I can and people were commenting oh, I hated that too. No one will say, and I'm not a hate person, but I was no one else will say that they didn't like this. And everyone's so yapping up about how this is great, and no one else will say that their taste is different. I'm so glad I found you. We vibe. And so I was oh, well, not everyone's the same. I found my people. So it's it's weird that it's a video about not liking something brought me together with people, but I all love all the same things.
How long had you been doing your Instagram page for the books before the video went viral?
So I kind of didn't. I started it in the fall.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't really touch it.
I didn't really.
Oh, thank you. I didn't really touch it much because I'm the PTA president at school and I'm very busy. And so I just was maybe I'll start it. And then when I'm done doing PTA, which I'll be done at the end of this year, I'll really focus on it. So I didn't really do much with it. I was just I slap my thoughts or my reviews or post my memes to those stories instead of my personal stories. So people wouldn't be so annoyed. And I follow my book content people. Well, and I follow my book content people on that feed and not clog my personal feed with book content. But then in December is when I had my big video. So a couple months later. And then so really starting December. And then I was oh, and that's when I found my book friends. And so I feel I really started to build my book account and my book community in December is when I started really doing it.
So. I love that. I love a good meme. That's seriously, if anyone that follows me on my personal page knows that is the way to my heart.
Literally.
So funny enough, I reposted on my personal page one of Katie's memes, and then she responded back to it, and then I responded back to her, and then we talked for an hour because Katie is living out my dream life. She lives in Seattle.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask. I didn't know where you were from. So you're in Seattle.
Lives in Seattle. And currently, if you're watching this on YouTube, she is in Forks, Washington, where I am meant to be.
This is your dream vacation that you're on right now. So what brought you to Forks? How far is that from Seattle? I know nothing about you.
Okay. So we're staying at a lake house right now. And the lake house is technically in Port Angeles, which is also featured in Twilight.
Oh, it is.
So it's in Port Angeles. But fun fact, none of that was actually shot in Washington because Washington has too much red tape for shooting movies. All of it was shot in British Columbia and Oregon. So not really setting any foot in Twilight Land. But it's Port Angeles is about 2.5 hours from my house. I live in Bellevue, which is right. It's Seattle adjacent. I'm 15 minutes from downtown. But
so chill.
I'm it's fun. So we're 2.5 hours / 3 hours from Port Angeles, but it took us hours and hours to drive up here because we hit 7 bookstores on the way.
Okay, literally
priorities.
This is my vacation. No, I know it's yours, but hitting bookstores. I love this. This is
we did. Yeah, we did 7 indie bookstores on the way. I had some leftover stamps in my book passport from Indie Bookstore Day, and they gave us until May 5th to do it. So I hit more stamps on my book passport. And then today we found one in Port Angeles that we didn't do. And we were like, oh, after our McDonald's emergency Diet Coke run, we were like, bookstores. And we went in and I bought, where is it? I bought this one. Because on our Walmart grocery stocking trip, we found a bargain bin and I bought this one. And I was like, oh crap, that's the second book in a duology. And then today at the bookstore, I was like, oh, that's the first one in a duology. So
you, just from what I have talked to you about, like you read more books than I can even comprehend. And I'm a pretty like decent reader.
Okay. Let's clarify because I saw your like this past month's book reads, and I think it was like 1 book every day. I was trying to do the math.
Yeah, how many books did you read this month?
Actually, so I read let me find. I think I read 12 books this month.
Insane.
So
incredible.
Yeah, I listened to a few. I used to be I would only read like 7 books in a month. But since I started doing like 4 at a time instead of 2 at a time, things have changed.
Courtney thinks I'm crazy. My mom thinks I'm crazy because I like flip between books. Like I'll read.
I've never been able to do that until now.
Yeah, I would say that's a more recent thing like in the last few years. But it's like jumping around TV shows. And then Courtney and my mom were like, I don't
exactly
do that.
One track mind.
Yeah. I used to not be able to do that. Yeah. I can jump around TV shows, but I could never jump around books. But now I view it the same way now. It's like jumping around TV shows, so I can do it.
Have you
training your mind
like a book girly? Because I know for me, my personal like journey with books, I mean, I've always been a reader and I've liked to read, but it wasn't until the beginning of last year that I kind of locked in and really got interested in like, instead of scrolling on my phone, which I still do, I'm not going to lie, but like I'm going to pick up a book and I'm going to read that instead. And I've just like found so much enjoyment in it.
Yeah. I think I go through phases where I would read a lot and then not pick up a book for like 4 years. So I think when my daughter was born, I have 2 kids. So my daughter's 12 and my son is 9. My daughter was born in 2013 is my last phase, I think, where I was like voraciously reading. And that's when the dystopian times, like we were reading Divergent, we were reading The Hunger Games, we were reading. And it's funny because that's when I read Shatter Me for the first time. And so when I dipped my toes back into reading now, I'm like, we're still doing that. Like I was reading Shatter Me still, and I was like, people are still reading.
I just read that whole series recently. I think I finished it in January maybe. And I was like, this sucks. I just wasted 13 books of my life, like reading this dumbass series, like respect to the writer. Yeah. It was fine, but I was like, this is so stupid, but I would have probably loved it when I was younger.
Yeah. I read the first one back then, and I don't know if the second one was even out yet. And I remember liking it, which is why, anyway, last time I reread the first one with every intention of like continuing. I did not.
Don't do it.
But yeah, I gotta do it again. But yeah, so that's the last time I was reading a lot, like book after book after book, because I was home, I had a newborn, I didn't really have a ton to do. And then, I moved around a bit because my husband, he works in video games. And so he did a while where he would do like help startups, like for mobile games. And so we lived in the New York area for a while, which is where I'm originally from, but I did live in Texas for quite a while growing up. So,
wow, you're out in Texas?
Yeah, I lived in Houston. So I lived in Sugar Land.
Oh,
yeah. Oh my God.
Courtney refers to it. I don't know if I told you this. Courtney refers to it as Sugarland because she's not from here.
I'm not from here. And so for me, and I have the Oklahoma draw, and so I'm like Sugarland, like
Sugarland.
No. I
know.
Sugarland.
Apparently,
like the band that I've never heard. I've never heard a Sugarland song in my life, but I just tell it's Sugarland like the band. I don't know. Yeah, really. So we would move, and a lot of times, like a way to like meet people would be like, oh, there's a book club, and so I would occasionally read like a book club book, but the next time I got into reading was when my kids were a little older. I think it was like in 2020,
Was something going on then that would make you need to spend a lot of time home reading?
It's weird, you know? I don't know what was happening in the 2020s. There was like nothing big. Yeah. I don't know if I got heavy into embroidery. I had an embroidery Etsy shop in 2020 Like that's when I got into embroidery. I should have started reading them because I could have knocked out audiobooks like no one's business.
I know.
I had an Etsy shop. Like I made a crap ton of money doing embroidery too. It was wild.
Yeah.
But I was over it after like a year. I was like, I'm tired.
Courtney sewed club baby clothes whenever her daughter was born.
I didn't make any money, unlike you.
I heard that in the podcast. I was like, oh, I was there. I did that. But I probably didn't, like, if I did the math, I probably was the same. The margins were probably similar. Like I thought about like, if I did the materials and my time's not worth nothing.
No, the material.
Labor.
When you're working 20 hours on a project, when you break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not worth nothing. Like I upped my prices and turned off free shipping because I was like, whatever. But it's still actually active. I did a couple orders last month, but I do not promote it anymore. I'm tired and I don't do it.
Yeah.
But in like 2022, I asked my husband, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to get a Kindle because I want to read at night, but I don't want to look at my phone on ebooks. I wanted to stop looking at my phone at night.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I'd rather read at night. But you are such a fart about having the light on at night. Like, so I think I need to get a Kindle because I want to get in bed on time. I don't want to do, like, I know I'm supposed to be getting better sleep and I don't want to watch TV like too close to bed. And I keep doom scrolling and I'm staying up till 2 a.m. doom scrolling every night. I think it would be healthier for me if I would just like read at that time. And so I was like, can I just grab a Kindle so that I don't doom scroll at night? And he was like, that's a good idea. For a while, he was like, why do you need another device? I was like, because I have freaking ADD. If I was like reading on my phone, I'd be like, oh, what does this word mean? Oh, I'm going to go on Wikipedia. Oh, I just spent 3 hours researching the mob on Wikipedia. Like, I'm not going to do like, no.
You and I are the same person, unfortunately. Like, I can't express that enough.
It's just like I can't. So he was like, okay, and then surprised me on Valentine's Day with a Kindle. I was like, see, he understands. So and that's when I started reading. I think it was like 2022. And I remembered from one of my book club eras, actually the girlie who I'm here with right now, she's out in the hot tub right now. She was my Salt Lake book club friend. And so I remember from those book club days, I really liked Leanne Moriarty. So that's where I started. I was reading Leanne Moriarty, and then I got more into the thrillery side because I liked her as a mystery author. And then I started reading thrillers, and I had a friend who would read lots of thrillers, and she would like recommend books to me. And I read thrillers for like 2 solid years. And I exclusively read thrillers.
Yeah, I feel like that's more how you started.
That was how I started too.
Until we read ACOTAR.
What ACOTAR is the gateway drug?
It's the gateway drug. Like I didn't even read romance at all until it's like romantasy and then romance and then like
it's amazing.
You're gone.
So that is next on my agenda of peer pressuring Courtney into because I
want to do it.
Yes, you do. You do.
Now I do. After Throne of Glass, though, she had to pressure me into Throne of Glass.
Yes,
I got her. That was my friend. She brought ACOTAR to read for her book this weekend because I pressured her into reading.
Good. Yes, we're peer pressuring in a positive way.
It's
and you know what she did? You know what she did? She brought a copy to read for the first time, and she bought a brand new copy that she bedazzled. And she said, I bought this and I'm going to annotate it for you. And I'm going to give it to you when I'm done. So that when you do your reread before the 6th one, you'll have all my notes to laugh at when I'm done. I love that. Best friend ever.
Well, guess who's getting my notes next?
Yeah, great.
That is like the best thing ever. I'm like, I am so blessed. I have the best friend.
Mine's just going to be like, how do you pronounce this name?
What
like,
the hell does this mean?
I know. Like, what's this guy's name? Tim Tam what?
Yes. No, I need Courtney to read it because I have started once she read Throne of Glass and then I got our other friend Grace to read Throne of Glass. Now I can send them Throne of Glass AI.
Yes, I know, right?
I follow fan pages now. I listen to an exclusive Spotify playlist from Throne of Glass. Like that's what I work out.
Because of course. Yes. I made my brother read Throne of Glass. And by read, I mean listen, because he has a tendon thing in his eye, so he can't read. He listens. So listening is reading. So he he calls it 50 Shades of Faye.
Honestly,
that doesn't even have any, like, that's the hard
no,
thing.
I was like, don't read
I mean, but like, I know, right? It's like he has no interest, but like, I think it's like the Dorian and the Manon or the Manon or whatever that did
no,
it.
it's
He's
Manon.
like,
It's Manon.
I always say Manon.
for always, that's just going to be what I read it as. And
No, Manon is a crazy inflection that I cannot get down with.
Pass. I will not be calling her Manon.
Exactly. Well, I guess let's go ahead and dive into our book of the month. I made Katie is talking about romantasy and thrillers and fun books, and I told her, "Hey, girl,
let's get really sad.
Let's get depressed."
Had you ever read The Nightingale, or have you ever read anything by Kristin Hannah?
Actually, no, this was my first Kristin Hannah. And I was like, oh, this is actually a really good opportunity to dip into Kristin Hannah because everyone tells me I should. So
She's my obsession. And I love like all of the books that I've read by her, The Great Alone, The Four Winds, and then The Women is my absolute favorite book. Probably like it's my top 5 book of all time. Is I'm a
my best friend here just is The Women, not the one here, but my best friend back home. She's The Women is like her favorite book of all time.
Yes, it's incredible. I think her storytelling is just, and like I said, I haven't been reading consistently for very long. So I guess I have a small like sample to compare it to, but I feel like her writing is just incredible to me. I think she tells stories that, it's like we were talking about, like that historical fiction. It like makes you feel like you're doing a little bit of research. You're learning about the world a little bit more, but it's in entertaining / sad.
Yeah, but don't discount yourself because you are correct. Kristin Hannah is an excellent author.
And she's a great researcher. I mean, the back of the book, she has like a whole chunk about the research she did. Yeah. It was really impressive.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So let's start out with let's do a synopsis. But first, I like to just throw this out there. What was your overall rating out of 5 stars? What would you give?
5, easy 5 stars.
Yay!
Like, I mean, it's easy 5 stars. Like, and I wasn't expecting anything less. I mean, you can't get as like ubiquitous and as like iconic as Kristin Hannah and be trash. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I mean, maybe somebody could. I don't know. But I highly doubt it. Like, she was delivered. She delivered. Met all the expectations.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that as one of her biggest fans.
As the Kristin Hannah dealer.
And I feel like you're so qualified. So I'm like, yay, I rated it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Well, so Courtney rated it a 5 as well. I am a terrible human and I rated it a 4.
You were like 4.85 at book club.
I thought it was a 4. I think I was the only one that said 4.
Well, our rating is complicated. I actually have a 2-party or a 3-party rating system. Like I do, when I do reviews online, I have a film background. I went to film school, and I do when I look at something critically, I look at something I just look at something different than a lot of like book thingies. And so when you look at movies, you look at mostly 2 critic websites, right? You have Rotten Tomatoes and you have Metacritic. And Rotten Tomatoes goes on a scale of 1 to 100 about how it's received by an audience, like how much people liked it, how much people had fun or enjoyed their experience with the movie. And so it can be like, it doesn't really have anything to do with like how good it is. It's just if you had a good time or if you enjoyed yourself while watching the movie. Metacritic it takes like critical analysis and empirically like how good this movie was. And it breaks it down. And it's like critically, how structurally sound, how well is this done? And then like Goodreads, it's like 1 through 5, choose.
Yes.
No, like that is not enough.
Well, and books are so personal and there's so many different parts of it. Cause it's like, I mean, I feel like a heartless demon being like, oh, this, like book about the Holocaust and the suffering of but like I built it up so much in my head. Like I almost had the opposite experience of you where I was like, oh, Kristin Hannah is so amazing, so amazing, so amazing. And I thought I was just gonna like weep for the rest of my life. And I thought they were very like touching and emotional. I don't know what I wanted. I really like can't.
I think you had a preconceived because of everybody around you saying like how good this book was. And then I just had going into it, like me, I went into it blank. I had no idea what I was reading a year ago whenever I first and so I would have gone into it better blank, but I had
pressure on it to like be so moving. And it was moving and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a great read. But
and that's kind of why I agree with you. Like, I think that's kind of why on my, like, I call it rotten potatoes on mine, because it's not rotten tomatoes for me, it's rotten potatoes.
Cute.
So I gave it, like, I kind of felt similar to you. Like, I gave it like instead of that 100, like, this is because it is like creme de la creme of writing, I kind of gave it like an 85.
Yeah.
I didn't give it like the 99. I gave it an 85 because I was like, if this is great and I can super appreciate this and I love this. And there were those moments like at that conference at the end, I was like, okay, I'm unwell.
Same.
But I kind of was like, why am I not like weeping throughout the whole book? But then at the same time, I can appreciate that this is like, this is like the gold standard of historical fiction.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So, exactly. Which is why, I think I can totally see why you would do 4 instead of the 5, because it's personal experience.
It is. It's a complicated situation. Oh, but okay. So let's talk about a synopsis. So if you,
I'm so bad about that. I'm like, I'll sit here and talk about the book without ever telling anyone what it's about.
And I'm also like my review system. Like,
you're literally fine. Please. No, it's so interesting. This is what we do. This is, if you've listened to an episode, you know, the rambling is our whole brand.
You'll fix it in post. That's what you say in the film.
Exactly.
You'll fix it in post.
Exactly. So if you have not read The Nightingale and you want to read The Nightingale without spoilers, now is your time to stop listening and go forth and read and come back to us when you're done. Spoilers ahead. Spoilers ahead.
And if you don't want spoilers, we'll see you on the next episode.
We'll see you in hell.
Come back, please. But I'm not taking the fall for spoilers around here.
I know
anymore.
you always make me do a synopsis for the book because you're like, I will not be caught. Okay, so and fun fact for Katie, and maybe for those of you that don't know that listen, I'm a history teacher, so not that I'm an expert by any means.
We were all impressed at book club is what she's trying to say. She's wanted to know like the geography of everything and like the time periods. I didn't realize there were a lot of overlapping times. We'll talk more about that in the synopsis. And then I looked at her at one point and I was like, you're really good at your job.
Courtney was like, she was really,
because you don't see your best friend like actually in action with their teaching.
Yeah.
You know? And so,
and then of course I'd had like a few glasses of wine and I'm like fully lecturing that at that point. And I'm like, okay guys, and what's going on in this time period? And like giving wait time. Like it was very obnoxious. So
I love it. We were soaking it up.
Anyway,
synopsis time.
Okay. So that just being said, I may throw some dates in there that may be superfluous, but I can't help myself. So The Nightingale takes place. It's really 2 stories happening at the same time, but kind of 3 in a way. 2 main characters, which are sisters, Vianne and Isabel. And the book starts with a lady who is moving into a retirement home. Her son is helping her move, and she goes up into her attic. And you find out fairly early that she has cancer. And so it's like another time the cancer has returned. And that's really like end of life care, basically, is how I took it. Now she finds a trunk in her attic when she's going to move. And her son's like, what's in the trunk, Mom? And she's like, I've never told him any of this. And it's also 1995, great year. That's when I was born. And it goes into the story now. So now we are greeted with Vianne, who is a young mother in rural France. Just this idyllic like life to me. Like she's married to her high school sweetheart, and like, yes, she got pregnant out of wedlock very young, and they got married very young, but they seem very in love. They have one daughter, Sophie, who, how old is she at the start of the book? I want to say like
I felt like it never.
I was gonna say like 6, right?
She's young. Yeah. She's very young. Yeah. So let's just for shits and gigs say 6. So they've got a young daughter. Vianne's a school teacher. They have this beautiful garden and this beautiful home and this like sweet little town. And they're just living life. Well, it's 1939. And there is talk about a war breaking out. These people have lived through the Great War, World War I as we know it, already, and gone off to battle. They saw their father go off to the war and come back a completely different man. They lost their mother very young to disease. And so we see that their relationship between the sisters is really fragmented from the very beginning. And they have quite a big age gap. I believe it's 10 years.
Yes. And Isabel has grown up in homes.
Yes.
She's been sent off to boarding schools her whole life and kind of pushed to the side.
Yes,
Like she's
yes.
a little bit of a troublemaker.
For sure. While Vianne's out here living this like beautiful French life, hanging out, Isabel's like pissing off nuns, and just like the word they kept using, which was one of my complaints, is that they called her impetuous no less than 400 times.
Oh my God.
Okay, thank you. I don't think it was actually 400. I'm dramatic, but every time about Isabel, they use the adjective
say
impetuous. I'm like,
Very impetuous.
can we get a thesaurus, Kristin Hannah? The point I driven home, she was
one hard, but they did say it a lot.
Yes. So we see these parallels going on because Isabel's like just kind of a ball buster and she's doing her own thing. And they're both affected by their mother's death in different ways. But Vianne kind of turns into herself and into her relationship with Antoine, her husband, and creating a family. Whereas Isabel's kind of searching for that love, and she's really fighting it. I wouldn't even say searching. She's fighting for that love and dedication from her dad, from her sister, from whomever. So Antoine, Vianne's husband, gets called off to war, but he's only going to be gone for a little bit. Don't worry, Vianne. JK is going to be gone for 6 years. And so he leaves to go off into the war. The Nazis come and occupy France, as you know, if you have studied history. And at first, the French government, like, this is one of my big takeaways, is that I always thought the French in general with World War II was like the biggest losers of the war. Because I was like, you guys are wimps, like you didn't do anything. But this really did give me a different perspective, because the Nazis came in and started occupying this area, and it was a slow burn. Anyway, sorry, just had to upgrade our Zoom for those of you if you've heard a weird pause. Anyways, the French are losers of the war, but this really humanized them for me. The Nazis come in, and I use the analogy that I used with my students whenever we were at book club. It's like boiling a frog. That's like a very Southern saying, I think. But if you
we know the boiling the frog.
You know the boiling frog? Okay.
I have never heard of that before, but
Really?
once you said it, I understood it, but that is not a common term that I grew up with.
So maybe that's
I know about boiling the frog.
right. Because it's like, that's why I always talked about wars with my kids, is like, they didn't, even the Civil War, like they don't start out with boiling water and throw the frog in, because the frog would jump right out. Right? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But you do it slowly. And then all of a sudden it's too late for them to jump out. So that really shined a light for me on the Nazi occupation in France and kind of how it went down. Isabel makes her way to Vianne's house. She meets Gaetan out in the trenches, walking to, and like, really, that's whenever society starts.
That was a rattling scene when they were all trying to get into the house, the refugees. That was that was rattling.
Yes. So Isabel has to walk most of the way to Vianne's house, and all these refugees. I mean, they said it like there were thousands of people just walking through, and like they break the garden gate. Which really, to me, the Garden Gate was like the symbolism of what like society broke in that moment. And then they reference the broken gate over and over again until it is completely ripped down when what's his head comes, evil guy.
Yes.
Von Richter.
Yep.
Is that his name?
Oh, that's right. I think. Oh, you know what? It's on my Kindle. I don't know where.
Von Richter.
Yeah.
Feels like the sound of music to me. Like,
no, that is his.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Good thoughts.
You know, I contain multitude.
Bulldozing.
But basically, Isabel, and I won't like bore you guys with page to page references, but Isabel is automatically very like pro-resistance, doing everything she can to resist the Nazis.
How can I get involved in this and stop this?
Yes. And Vianne is a mom with a young child, and she's not willing to put her daughter in danger.
I'm going to keep my head down, and I'm going to be in survival mode.
Exactly.
I'm going to do what I have to do.
Exactly. And you sympathized with both women, because there really wasn't a clear choice for either of them outside of what they were doing. They didn't really have a lot of options. So a Nazi comes and lives with Vianne, who is named Beck. And while he is a Nazi, he's like one of the nicer ones, I guess you could say, to really like.
Well, something we talked about in book club.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say like they're a Nazi so much as like to me he was like a German soldier.
Yes, that's a good
because point. Like yeah, because it's just hard because what was he gonna do?
Yeah,
like he's German and he has to go to the military, and it's like, okay, well, I'm here. They're making me do it.
I think he was such an important character for the book for many reasons, but to shine on, here's this man who signed up to provide for his family. And because whenever it was presented to some of these men, I think that it was presented like for their country and things like that. Just the same reason like our men sign up. And so,
and did they even have a choice? I mean, history teacher, do you know if the Germans were drafted or if they had a choice in fighting?
I believe they had a choice initially, like when he would have enlisted. I think he might have mentioned it, but I don't know definitively. I just know what I told you guys in book club is that Germany after World War I is in such a major economic depression.
Yeah, they were desperate to get out.
Absolutely. And so it was like, one, they were desperate enough to get Hitler in power. Two, they're desperate for a job. And if Hitler was offering these men jobs, I don't think he would have even had to draft, really. I think it was such a slow brainwashing process that they just did that.
Yeah.
But it was easy to humanize Beck. In this book.
He like takes the downstairs bedroom. He does not do anything inappropriate with Vianne ever. He's great to Sophie, the daughter.
He brings them extra things when he can.
He gives them extra food. He overall helps out. But eventually he does ask Vianne for a list of people she knows that are Jews or homosexuals or I can't think of the other one.
There was one more.
Communists, and I think Jehovah's Witness too.
That's right. Jehovah's Witnesses. I forgot about that.
It was a lot of people. So they show you that they didn't single out just Jews initially, but it definitely that's a snowball. It goes down there really quickly. And coincidentally, Vianne's best friend Rachel, who has a daughter the same age as Sophie, is Jewish, and so she writes her name down on the list. But she instantly is like, "Oh my God!"
She knew she had the gut. That pit in her stomach that she had done something wrong, but she also knows she has no choice. What are you supposed to do whenever you have a Nazi telling you write down? Because they were going to find out.
Absolutely.
And her reasoning was they will find out. This is a small town.
That's public information.
They will find out regardless. But if they know that I withheld the information, then my daughter's life is at risk.
Absolutely. So Rachel's fired from the school. Times are already desperate, and now they're getting worse and worse and worse. There's less and less food. And as we progress, Beck kind of makes a statement to Vianne, kind of hinting at her needing to help Rachel get out with her young son, who I think is 3, and her daughter, who is Sophie's age. So I think at this time, like 8, we've probably had like 2 years pass or a year pass at this point.
Yeah.
So they try to get out in the middle of the night. And they get to a checkpoint, and Rachel's daughter is shot at that checkpoint. She dies. They bury her. It's very terrible. And the next day, they think they make it. She hides her in a cellar, and they think that it's that. The Rachel story was the most devastating to me.
It was.
They hide her in the cellar all day. Keep her young son quiet. It's horrible. They get her out, and she's walking home, and they come and get her and put her on one of the cattle cars. And she knows they're coming. So she gives Vianne her young son, whose name is Ari, but they immediately give him kind of a Christian name and call him Daniel from that moment forward. And the part of the book that got me the most choked up in the entire thing was whenever Vianne had to tell Daniel, "Mommy's gone to heaven now. You live with us.
I'm your mommy now."
Because my son's 3, and that freaking
oh my gosh
got me. Like because I was just like imagining like telling Courtney like he's yours now, and then Courtney having to tell him, because she's like he can't think she's going to come back, because then he may say something and then we'll all be killed.
And they had to quiz him every day. Your name is Daniel.
Yeah.
Daniel. They had to drill it into him because it was survival.
Absolutely.
That's what they had to do. And it was just devastating.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Beck helps her falsify papers for him at some point. So you're really like, oh, Beck's really not a terrible guy. But then she sees him like whipping Jews and getting on the train. So it's this really complicated relationship with who Beck is. But you do realize that everyone is truly just trying.
Yeah, they have to make such hard choices. I mean, because he's like, she notices that. I think she notices. Does she notice that he's not whipping women and children? I don't remember what it is, but she notices Yeah. And so it's like he has to put on some kind of show to make sure that his family is safe. And she gives the names. So she's kind of done her thing. It's like they make these choices. It's like there is no right choice for anyone.
Well,
in this whole thing.
Yes. And we see why the Nazi regime was so effective is because of those fear tactics and because they just killed people right in front of everyone else. And that is why they were able to be so successful in this genocide. It's terrifying. And so it's not that I agree with Beck as a person, but I can understand his motivations a lot more than I did before this. So Isabel in this time at the same time is saving downed airmen. And she is like fully in the resistance now in Paris.
She's crossing mountains.
She's crossing the Pyrenees Mountains to take them to Spain so they can get out and get back in the war. She is just like such a badass.
Yes.
Her dad is getting involved and helping as well because he's part of the resistance.
That was a big shock to me the first time that I read it.
That was a shock to me too. That was, And it shouldn't have been knowing Kristin Hannah. I was like, oh, she's smarter than this.
Yeah.
So
the dad started as like this loser alcoholic, like very non-emotional guy.
He's shut off everybody out of his life.
After their mom died.
It's just awful to Isabel whenever she's searching for that love. But that was his way
of keeping her safe.
And showing his love for them still.
Yeah. So she's doing that at the same time. And I can't remember the specifics, but she ends up getting back to Vianne's with a downed airman. They know that a plane has gone down in the area and the Nazis are searching. Beck is the commander of this area, so he is on super high alert. And Isabel gets back to Vianne's house and they hide her and the airman in the cellar that they hid Rachel in. So, Beck comes home and he is just like frantic. He knows he is going to be killed if he doesn't show up.
And that's what he said. They will kill him if I do not find this airman.
And
and to see him that rattled was unsettling. Like, because he'd been so even keeled the whole time. And it's like, okay, this is dangerous. Like seeing him this rattled was a very unnerving thing. Like I very much felt her in that one. I was like,
yes, exactly. Well, and like the desperation, and then she's like trying not to give it away, but God, I don't know what I mean, I could not have done it any better myself. I can't even judge her actions, but he remembers that Vianne had mentioned that she had Rachel in a cellar all day. And so he's like, I've searched everywhere, I've talked to everyone. And then he realizes he hasn't talked to the one person he's really grown to trust, which is Vianne. So he goes out, finds a cellar, goes to open it. Isabel shoots at him and Vianne hits him in the back of the head with a shovel and they kill him. And it was so
devastating. That was a blow.
That was a turning point for Vianne because she's tried to stay away. She's tried to stay away this whole time. But when it came down to protecting her sister, she chose her sister over.
Yes.
Because she knew that like Beck was going to see Isabel and was going to kill her. And so
he did shoot her.
Only option. Yes, he did shoot her. And so her only option.
Without hesitation.
Yes. Yeah. He shot her in the shoulder. Of course, Vianne and Isabel are going to fight over who gets credit for Beck's death because sisters. And then here's like a real just twisting the knife, Kristin Hannah. The airman didn't even freaking survive.
I know. I was like, that was all.
It was all for naught. So that was annoying. But okay.
So Kristin Hannah though.
No, like
digging in deeper.
Like damn. Okay. So we make it all the way there. Isabel and Gaetan are reunited. They share love, but they're always separating and going off and having to go do their revolutionary things. Vianne's still waiting for Antoine. Someone else moves into her house, a Nazi that is like from the SS, and he is
true evil.
Like
he is the face of when I think of a Nazi. Like I didn't ever think of like the Beck, you know. But I thought it like Von Richter, like that, which is horrible.
These are people that are starving to death in front of each other, and he is like they haven't had real coffee, and
he pours down all of the coffee down the drain.
Yeah, like throws away leftovers. I mean, just like gross.
Gives the leftovers to the chickens in their backyard. That made me mad. And she's starving, but yet her chickens are getting fed.
He like comes in and takes the bedroom that was Antoine and Vianne's, and that's where her and Sophie were staying, and Daniel. And it's just like, and then he begins sexually assaulting her, which is terrible, but honestly did not surprise me. I assumed that was coming. But it was awful nonetheless.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm thinking we're like probably around 1944-ish. Isabel gets caught being the Nightingale. She's getting all these men across the Pyrenees Mountains, all these airmen mostly. I think she ends up getting like 74 in total or something like that, or is it more than that?
I think it was between 70 and like 85 or something like that. Yeah, it was between them.
I mean, dozens of men. And she, like, the Nazis, like, the Nightingale, where is she? Where is she? They don't suspect this 20-year-old.
Well, they said, where is he?
Oh, yes.
They think saying, where is Nightingale? Where is he? Where is he? And it ends up that her dad takes the fall. That is like his last love language.
That was also a blow
to her. Was he came in and he goes, I'm the Nightingale. And they all believed him, because no one's going to believe, like you were saying, that some 20-year-old girl is the Nightingale who has been rescuing all of these men and crossing these mountains that are like impassable.
Taking days to get across. And then you're like,
that these grown men are saying, I can't go any further. And she's like, nope, let's go.
Get on.
Pick it up.
Yes. So while Isabel's being interrogated, because they think she like knows about the Nightingale or is the Nightingale, her dad comes and confesses, and he is killed by a firing squad in front of her. But it is like, it's kind of a beautiful full circle thing, because he didn't show his love well, but he did. I think she knew he loved her by the end of that.
And he had said his goodbyes to Vianne as well in his own way. But then she still ends up getting sent to a concentration camp.
So even though she is not killed at that moment, she is sent to a concentration camp. And that's really when it's like, ooh, how's she going to get out?
Devastating.
Oh my God. And I mean, I think concentration camps are a big part of what we all know about World War II. But hearing like kind of it from the first person situation, it's like, ugh, or third person, whatever it was. But the conditions were horrible. She's obviously emaciated. They make a comment about her only weighing 80 pounds. She has no hair by the end of it, no eyebrow hair, because it's like she can't even grow it back.
She's so malnourished.
Yeah, she's missing a lot of teeth. But she finally, once the concentration camp is liberated, she finally makes it back to Vianne's house. Antoine makes it back, Vianne's husband, which was really shocking to me. I thought for sure.
That was shocking to me too.
I thought it was shocking too that he was receiving her packages that she was sending. I really thought that they would have intercepted them and not let them have anything. I just thought that was weird. I didn't really understand why they would.
I was surprised by that as well. And
I think it might have had something to do with Beck, perhaps.
Oh, you know what? I bet you're.
That's my guess. That's my guess, is Beck sending them on.
Yeah, because I was very confused about that too. And I just figured that was a blind spot in my knowledge. But
I'm wondering if it had something to do with him, like
that would make sense.
Getting them there.
That would make sense. But Antoine comes back, and then at the same time, Vianne finds out she's 1 month pregnant with Von Richt's baby.
But it is an unspoken thing amongst Antoine and Vianne that I think Antoine knew what had happened, but they never spoke about it. And Antoine was like, this is my baby. Like he was just,
and again, twisting the knife further, Kristin Hannah, Vianne struggled with many miscarriages before she got pregnant with Sophie. And of course she gets pregnant with Von Richter's baby and makes
immediately
a baby. It's like,
I know.
So, all that to say,
but when Isabel comes back, Gaetan meets her back there.
That was such a moment.
She dies in his arms because she was really sick. She had typhus. And she literally, he comes back and he holds her and she dies in his arms. That part got me from that point on to the end of the book.
I didn't stop. It was just the crying just kept going.
I just could not get it together because, she just wanted love so bad. And I think like her and Gaetan, that was like the love of her life. And even though they had a very like complicated relationship because of the war, and that's just how it ended, was her like finally feeling safe, like she's at her sister's house with the love of her life,
surrounded by people that love her. She's with her sister, she's with her mom, she's with her niece who's now like 14. Like it is a beautiful, that's what I kept saying too, and Katie, you may agree with this. I kept saying I'm not crying as much as I thought I would, because this is a beautiful way for this to go. She could have died in a concentration camp, and Vienne could have never known what happened to her. She could have never seen Gaetan again, but they're all together, and like, what a beautiful way for her to go if she was going to go. So then we go back to present day, and you realize that Vienne is the older lady that is
at the beginning
of the book, and she goes off to Paris to celebrate the Nightingale. She's invited. Her son comes with her, who you find out is von Richter's son that she became pregnant with. He's a surgeon, very smart, seems very sweet. She named him after her dad, Julian, which I thought was really
cool. That got me too.
Yes. They make it to Paris. She gives a speech about Isabel, and you find out that Sophie died of cancer when she was in her 50s, I think. And, you know, she just gives a beautiful speech about what Isabel meant to them. And, and I totally left out that Vienne started saving Jewish orphans.
Yes.
That's
right.
I forgot about that. Sorry. This is like a 564-page book, so if I miss some details,
there's a lot.
Go read it, people. Go read it.
Yes. But Vienne has her own way she is fighting back as well by the end of the novel. And they're honoring both of the sisters for their work. Gaetan is there, and he has his daughter, Isabel.
Whenever he said, "Here's my daughter, Isabel," bawling.
I was a mess. And then when Daniel... It's like, I never forgot that was it.
So Daniel, Rachel's son, is at this. And because at the end of the book, sadly, when Antoine comes back and when Isabel dies, they come and take Daniel because they want him to be with his Jewish family, which is in America. So
which
Rachel,
I understand.
Yes. They wanted to preserve like the heritage that he had. Completely understandable. You know, they were trying to repair that. But the fact that he was torn from Vienne, who loved him so dearly, was his mom. And he's like not understanding because he was 3 at the time and he was probably 6 by the end of the book. Yeah, he started calling her mom. And so he comes to this award, to the ceremony. Thank you. And he's like, I never forgot you. I've been looking for you.
I slept with that stuffed animal for years.
And he had the picture. I cried whenever Vienne put the picture, I'm going to cry again, of her and Rachel in his bag leaving. No. And he goes, whenever he was older, the parents that ended up raising him, the family of Rachel's, gave that picture to him and then explained everything. And he came back and found her. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't take it.
I know. I was not okay. That was the moment. It was like, that's the moment where I put the book down and took a selfie of myself crying. I put it on my Instagram. I was like, read the Nightingale, they said.
Yes.
I was like crying. I was like, I'm not okay.
Emotional warfare is what we inflicted on him.
I'm reading on the other end of the couch from my husband, and he's like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, I can't talk right now. So I just held the book up and finished reading. I was just, because I'm sobbing. I'm like, oh my God.
I was at the pool. I was so in public when it was.
Well, and that's why I like to tell everybody with the Nightingale, it's like, yes, it's devastating and it's sad, but she did such a beautiful job of wrapping it up with a bow. And so having everyone come back together at the end of the book was the perfect way to end this tragic story.
Yeah. And I loved that Julian, the son, really got to know his mom. And I hate that she hadn't like revealed herself, but that's so Vienne once you like hear a character to not be, so like ostentatious with just her personality. She's very, very, very reserved.
Well, and what we brought up in book club was the trunk at the beginning of the book. We saw that as symbolism for her closing everything up in her life. She put it up in this trunk, and she needed to forget about it and move on because she had been through so much. And opening that trunk back up allowed her to let her son in a little bit more. And I love
they had this beautiful day in Paris. Like I just love their Parisian day. It was so
Yes.
Make me want to go to Paris and with my 3-year-old son.
Well, and she got to remember the good things about Paris too, because she took him to like her little bakery shop that they went and had drinks on the patio. And so
it was beautiful.
Right.
So yeah, that's your synopsis, my long-winded synopsis, longer because this
sorry guys.
Well, it's a long book. There's
it just contains so much, and it just was so moving and so powerful. And then, like you were saying, Katie, at the end of the book, you're able to really read through all of the research that she had to do.
She does so much, like so much. Like, and she includes like photos of like what she thought it would look like, the inspiration for the village that she used. Like, it's very, very cool.
And I liked how she took multiple women's stories from this time period and then made Vianne and Isabel. And so there were women who were doing all of the things that she talked about in the book, but it was like multiple women. And so she combined us into these characters who she was just able to like so beautifully write about.
Yeah.
Okay. So to wrap up our episode, because we have taken so much of Katie's time while she's literally on vacation, I want to give you a couple of book club questions that we had. So which character did you relate to the most and why?
I probably related to Isabel the most, just because I'm a really hot tempered person. And I, especially like when I was looking at Vianne the whole time wanting to shake her. And it's hard because in retrospect, you're being like, it's the Nazis, are you stupid? But it's like, I just am, so I'm the person who's going to want to jump in first, ask questions later. And so, but at the same time, like Isabel did almost get everyone killed with her temper. Like she would have gotten everyone killed in the house even though Beck's a good person, she could have really put everyone in danger.
Yeah. But if Von Richter was there first.
Totally. Exactly. So it would have been on me because I would have been the same person. I would have done the exact same thing Isabel did. I do not hide my disdain very well. I don't have disdain for a lot of people, but when I do, it is not well hidden.
Yes. That's very fair. What about you, Court?
Oh, which one did I relate to the most? Definitely Vianne, because she went into just that protective mode of what do I have to do? How can I kind of keep my head down? I want to protect those around me. And I'm also just not a jump into action kind of person. Like I want to protect those around me. And so I definitely related to her the most.
Yeah. I feel so torn because I think I said this in book club, pre-kid me would be Isabel. Like pre-child me is a different beast. I would have been like, especially if I didn't have like a husband or no ties, like I would have been the person, like you're saying, jump in, ask questions later, whatever. But as a mom, especially to a young one, I understood Vianne's motivation so much, but I wish there was kind of like, I'm a hybrid of the two, I guess. That's the best way to say it. Okay. We kind of talked about some of these. How would you judge Beck's character? Was he simply following orders or was he trying to be humane within an inhumane system?
I think he was trying to be humane within an inhumane system. I mean, it was interesting to read, to be honest. And I think a lot of people, it's pretty relatable because a lot of people are trying to make the best of a bad situation in their lives in general. And I think that was just on a huge grand scale. And again, he didn't have like my computer's going to die. I thought that charger was working and it's not. I'll move. This is a not active outlet.
So many of those.
Yeah, that outlet doesn't work in my house, so I don't know. But no. I think it's easy for us to be like, oh, don't you see these people are horrible? But it's like you were saying, the slowly boiling frog. I think it was harder and harder for him to justify things. And I honestly think that's why he freaked out so hard when the airmen came down. Because I think he was like, that's when he hit his breaking point. He's like, I've done my best. I've tried to be good. I've tried to be humane. And these people are just nuts. Yeah. And they're going to kill me anyway. And I've just got to do what I have to do. And in for a penny, I've got to kill this guy because that's the only way I can protect my family. So I feel like it's interesting because he tries to keep his head down. He tries to do what he can. It's like Vianne, like she tries to keep her head down, tries to like make the best she can without hurting the people they love. Like he's trying to keep his head down, do the best he can without hurting the people he loves. And then it's just, you can't win.
No,
you just can't win.
Well, and like inevitably one of them was not going to make it. I mean, it just, Beck would not have lived if Ian was going to live and continue doing what she was going to do. There was really a world where that was going to happen. Last one. So I didn't talk about Gaetan, I feel like, enough when my synopsis, I'm sorry, but Gaetan's Isabel's love interest, and they have kind of a, I don't even know how to explain their relationship. It's very like,
it's complicated because he's very closed off to her and the possibility.
He's guarded.
Yes.
Because he knows that like any day could be my last day, but she has the complete opposite reaction to that. Of, any day could be my last day, so I want to love you.
Yeah.
Live like you're dying. Yeah.
So here's the question. What does Gaetan represent in the story? Freedom, recklessness, youthful rebellion, or something else?
Gosh. It's hard. Like, I don't know. Because it's like, I think for Isabel, she's like, it's something she's chasing the whole time, right? So it's like, what's she chasing the whole time? Is she chasing like freedom, recklessness, rebellion? I don't know if like she's chasing, like, I don't know if I would even associate him with those things, because I think he runs so deep and he's so real. And I think, I don't know.
I know.
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say, because I think like, I guess maybe rebellion, or I guess he does go off to fight. He does go off with those beret guys to fight eventually. And that's pretty dang reckless. And I think he kind of gets reckless and is like, he kind of gives up. He does the live like you're dying thing opposite from Isabel.
Yeah.
He gives up and he's like, if I'm going to die anyway, I'm just going to go die. Yeah. I'm not going to put anyone, he's like, I'm not going to let anyone invest any more in me because it's worthless, because we're all dying. I'm just going to go off and die.
Right.
And so I think maybe it is recklessness, because he's just like, well, we're all out of here. But he's like recklessness in the opposite way, because she's reckless with her heart and he's reckless with his life.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There you go. What about you, Courtney?
So true. I think he just represented like what she was seeking the entire time. For me, it was just like he was this like goal she had. She just wanted to be secure and loved. And she knew like if they would have been in a different time and place, he would have been able to provide that to her. But just like with everyone in her life, she was always the one doing the chasing. Like she's chasing Ian's love, her dad's love, and now it's Gaetan's love. But like I have such a soft spot for like their story, and because he just like her dad, it's like he was not able to fully get there with her until the very end. And I'm like, but now it's too late.
Commit. No, I definitely agree. You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, their story's tragic, but it's beautiful.
It's so tragic. Yeah.
Beautiful. And him naming his daughter after her was really sweet.
Oh, that's it.
Like how much of an impact that Isabel really did have on him. And
that and just everyone, like the moment when they said like everyone in that room was there because of Isabel. Like that's a room full of people. That's hundreds of people, like more than hundreds, because she said 83 or something airmen, and that's all of them and their kids and their grandkids, like ripples. All there because of Isabel. Like, it was amazing.
One brave, brazen act, like in that horrible war, like that was one person. And then think about all of the people that did do those small acts, and like Vianne in her own way, her rescuing those kids. And
I think she rescued kids. I mean, think about like what the ripple of that. That is so far reaching, and it took those to do those things.
Right. Well, and also like her selflessness, giving Daniel back to his family. Like my husband, his birth father is Jewish. But he's adopted by Christian family. So we're Christian, but my husband's birth father is Jewish and he does not have a relationship with his birth father. And so he doesn't really have that cultural, background. And it's kind of tragic because it really is who you are. And it's not something you think about because like religion aside, like we're not practicing Jews, but it's who you are regardless.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that and there's like that piece of you, it really is it's your like, it's like your genetics, like it's your ethnicity. And so it's like that big piece of you to have lost that, like we kind of have a taste of that in our family where it's like, oh, this is a huge piece of you that you don't have any context for. Yeah. And we've tried to like, bring like culturally kind of bring back some cultural things, like incorporate like some Jewish traditions back in our family as we, get older, because our kids and we think about it in terms of like, okay, Holocaust happens, we're all gone. Yeah. Like if that was something back then, as far as like, if we were around, Brad would be gone.
Yeah.
I would be gone for hiding him. Our kids wouldn't have been gone at first, but eventually would have.
Yeah.
Been.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, even though we're like practicing Christians, it doesn't matter. Yep. Like it's part of it. And so it's like, we think about things in these terms now. And so it's like, it's regardless of whether you acknowledge it or not, it's like who they are. And so it's nice. It was so hard to see Daniel get taken away. But at the same time, I'm like, it is so valuable to have him immersed in that culture because it's such an integral part of who you are.
Yeah.
And to imagine like a whole generation of people like Brad, my husband, who have no context of that.
Yeah.
It would be tragic. The devastation, it would just be awful. Like a whole culture wiped away. For sure. I loved reading about that. Even though it was so hard, I was like, that was such a brave choice.
Yes. And
it was hard with the point.
Leanne knew it, and she knew like she was doing it for Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
And why did Rachel die? Because she was a Jew, and she can pass on.
Yeah. Yes. And so Vianne doing that for how many children? Like Vianne did so much for the Jewish community by doing that, because you have like 20 kids, like 20 something kids. That's thousands of Jewish families. Like,
yep.
Yeah,
no, for sure.
So
for sure.
And those are the beautiful pieces in writing, like by Kristin Hannah, that like, like you said, she did her research enough to know that those were integral parts of the book that like needed to happen.
Yeah.
To really showcase that story and the importance of the culture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's lovely.
No, it really was a beautiful book. And I think I said it in our last book club podcast, but the theme was April showers. April showers.
It happened.
We cried. The goal was to cry. I just came up with that off the dome.
She cried.
But bring May flowers. So now we're switching gears completely the opposite direction, and we're going with romance. And our next book is
It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey, which turns out I read the in book club to like we were voting. And then it wasn't until I saw the cover today and I was like, oh my God, I've read this book. I read it. It's I'll still partake, but it's just so funny. I'm like
2 months.
So funny.
But yeah, we're hoping we read The Wedding People last two.
Oh, I love that book.
Really cute.
We liked it.
Yeah, we read The Wedding People 2 months ago. That was our second book club book. And that was perfect because it had just come out. And so I think that's going to be kind of what we're aiming for, maybe June, July. We'll see. But we definitely want to have you back, Katie. This was so fun.
I know.
Talking about,
yes, I would love to come back anytime.
And I hope you enjoy, being on my dream vacation without me. I think it's, I just
honestly,
didn't consider.
We had the best time. I was like, and then my friend was like, you should consider doing guided trips like this. You're like really nailing it. I'm like, well, you are one customer, so I don't know if you're like peer review this right.
Well, you have 2 customers now because I'm on my way.
Yeah, like I would happily guide you guys through the Pacific Northwest.
I will spray paint myself in silver
glitter.
And I will
sparkles. We did watch Twilight on Sunday night.
There's no other choice. There's no other choice. It
got on Netflix. They put it on Netflix this week, and I was like, "It's a sign."
I was about to say, like, if my platform is doing nothing, I want it to be known, like that Twilight, the whole saga, is now on Netflix, and like
it is.
I have random people like that I grew up with or that I know, but they obviously don't know you, but they listen to the podcast and now they send me Twilight memes to send to you. So like this is the impact you're having on the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to send all the Twilight memes to me. I take submissions every Tuesday. It's Twilight Tuesday on my account.
Oh
and
my
it's a whole- we have Twilight Tuesday, and it's a whole 20 slide carousel of Twilight memes every Tuesday.
Oh, Katie, say less. It just depends on how dark you want to go, because I can get weird.
Oh, we go all levels of deep onto Twilight Beanhood.
Say less. You're gonna have to comb through my submissions. There's gonna be more than 20.
You're gonna have to block
Send them
her.
all. Send them. It's like Twilight memes are better. Equal better than
Yes.
Twilight.
100%. 100%. 100%. Okay, well, we'll let you go enjoy your trip, but it was lovely to chat with
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thanks,
here.
guys.
And make
Yes,
sure you
thanks
go
for
follow
thinking
her
of
at
me.
katie.reads.books with a Z.
We'll tag her too.
We will
Don't
tag
worry.
her. And yeah, that's all we have. Cheers.
Enjoy the
everybody.
rest of your trip.
Thank you.
Wow.
Cheers,
Thanks,
everybody.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.